Hello, Black women. Today I am talking about being a Black woman healing. It is a Q&A, and I would love it if you could drop any of your healing journey questions in the comments down below. Or honestly, any comment, any question, I'm willing to answer it. Okay, so I'm a little discombobulated back here because your girl was just resting. And I was like, girl, you told these people you gonna be live at 12:30 and you just at the cribbo chilling. Okay. If you're on Patreon, you will see later that I filmed a video like 20 minutes ago and I was not looking like this, but I pulled it together. By the way, who am I? Hey everyone. My name is Rushni. I am a content creator. I am a special needs mother. I am a healing journey coach for Black and West Indian women. And I am a Black woman healing. I create humor filled healing spaces so that other Black women can heal too. You are welcome. Okay. If you are new here or if you are true here, drop a pineapple in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from. Also, drop a pineapple in the chat and let me know any question you want to ask me. Any question. Today is just a relaxed, it's summer. Let's get our healing on. Let's chop it up and chat with each other. And if you know another Black woman in your life, hit the arrow button on whatever platform you're watching on and share this video on your page so that you can also help another Black woman healing. Hi, Lori. Hi, hi. Hi, Lori. So I had other ideas in my head, you guys, for a video today. Several. I actually filmed a pre recorded video with a guest yesterday, but I decided to put that up later, probably next week. So stay tuned because it was an amazing conversation. Okay. We're talking about body image and social messaging and self worth, but that's for later. I decided not to put that up today because I just felt super chill. Just felt super chill. Thank you for my pineapple, Lori. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so if you have any questions that you would like to ask me anything, make a comment in the comment section. How's that healing journey going? Are you sick of it? Did you make progress this week, this month, this year? How is it going? What does healing mean to you? And until then, I'm just going to be sitting here chopping it up and answering a couple questions that I have already gotten on other places, okay? In other places. So, the first question that somebody asked me recently was, is everything a trauma response? Which I think is a great question, right? Because nowadays, everybody is talking about that's a trauma response, and this is a trauma response, and that's a trauma response, and this is a trauma response. And I have to admit that I also am on the that's a trauma response bandwagon. I believe that many of us are there because there's this like awakening that's happening where most of us have been so unaware that anything could be a trauma response that in the act of overcorrection, many of us just kind of like swing to the other side. It's like, that's a trauma response. That's a trauma response. And so the question was interesting because the question was like, is everything a trauma response? And I had to sit and think about that for a second because I was like, I don't think so. Right. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below because I am not the owner of this answer. I'm going to think about it and talk about it while I'm sitting here. Do you think that everything that we are doing in our adult life is a response or a reaction to some traumatic event? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If I'm being honest, I had to think this through because I was like, okay, what is a trauma response? Which is what I just said. And I'm like, what's the opposite of trauma? Well, the opposite of trauma is healing, right? The opposite of trauma. Like, let's just go to like physical stuff. If you have a trauma in your body, like a wound, the opposite of it is healing, an abrupt wounding of some sort, right? And so the opposite is healing, which is what we're doing out here on my platform, okay? Which is what I am, a Black woman healing, which is what you watching probably are, a Black woman healing. And so then I had to think to myself, well, is there any such thing as a healing response, right? And I was like, yeah, I think that a healing response is a real thing. So I don't think everything in our life is a trauma response, although I do think a lot of things could be because many of us experience spiritual, mental, emotional, and even physical wounding in our formative years, meaning growing up, from well meaning and possibly not even well meaning caretakers, right? Or authorities in our lives. And that would mean that there was a lot of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wounding that we could be responding to in an effort to survive, right? Which is what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to feel safe. We're all trying to feel loved, feel seen, feel heard, feel valued, and especially as kids. And so, yeah, I think that there's a large package of trauma responses that many of us could be experiencing unbeknownst to us at this point, but not everything. Some things are a healing response. That's going to be what I call the opposite of a trauma response. You know what else I just thought of, you guys? I think there's so many trauma, quote unquote, responses being unearthed in us right now and being brought to our awareness because nobody was checking for healing back in the day. Nobody was correcting the wounding that occurred. Nobody was even acknowledging the wounding in those places. And so it's like there's a buildup of all of these maladaptive and antisocial responses to things that we have to address right now. It would be akin to a person who never went to the doctor and then they went to the doctor at 45 and the doctor gave them a list of 27 things that was going on with them in their body that they could have caught years ago, right? If they had actually been checking for healing this entire time and being preventative. So, no, I know that's a weird question. I haven't gotten any answers in the comment section, but no, I don't think that everything is a trauma response. If you watch this on the replay, let me know what you think because I'd be super interested to hear what you think about that question. I think that lots of things are healing responses now. The other thing that just came to my mind is trauma responses come from a space of immaturity. Hear me out. Children are immature by nature, right? Adults are immature when they have not chosen to or been aware enough to grow, right? They they either won't or they don't grow. But children are immature by nature. And so when we come up with our ability to survive because we're all trying to survive, children's responses are going to be immature. They're going to come up with their best guess on how to get love, feel seen, feel safe, feel heard, feel valued, right? And from a child's perspective, they're not always going to come up with a pro-social, healthy version of it. They're just going to come up with what works, okay? Because they're 6, they're 7, they're 9, right? And whatever's happening. And so I think that healing has to be an intentional choice of maturity and maturing, if that makes any sense. And I think that the reason why so many things too could be called a trauma response is because a lot of people aren't intentional. A lot of people aren't maturing. Okay. It's a lot of people whose physical bodies are getting older, but their emotional health, their mental health, and their spiritual health are remaining exactly the same and or regressing. Okay. All of us have met a 52-year-old in the body and a 5-year-old in the mind. So I think that that's too why there's such a large number of things that we are identifying as trauma responses lately, because we are dealing with a by default immature group of humans with a small subcategory who are awakening, who are choosing healing, and who are being more intentional, that can look then at the vast majority of immature responses and call them trauma responses because they are literally coming out of pain and wounding. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what my thoughts were on that one. If you just joined, there is no topic today. Drop your healing journey questions in the comments or just say hi. Tell me how it's going for you on your healing journey. Tell me what went well for you this week. Tell me if you set a good boundary. Tell me if you said a good yes, a good no. Tell me anything. Um, yeah, and otherwise I'm answering or ask me any question. That's the other thing. Ask me any question that you want to ask me. Um, I am willing to answer it to the best of my ability out here on Kendrick Lamar's internet. Hi, Jay. Hello. Okay, this was another question that I got, so I'll go ahead and answer that. Drop your questions and I'll get to them in a second. So this was interesting because this was on a video I put up about hustle culture and how hustle culture will basically milk you dry, have you on fumes and burnout, and then clap while you go. Okay. And somebody left a comment that said, I'm just going to read their comment. The person said, does coverage by her father as a girl, then coverage by her husband as a woman make a big difference? Right? That was the question. So the video was about Black women being modeled hustle culture, go, 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 grind, grind, grind yourself into a fine dust, about Black women not even often knowing who they are and how to show up as their full self in their own lives because we have been trained to be tools of a system. And us not even realizing that that's what's going on. Like we could feel the discomfort, but we can't put words to it until we find somebody who can actually articulate what the hell is going on. And then we're like, oh, shite. And by the time we get to that oh, shite moment, a lot of us are in our like 40s and 50s. And thank God for us who are speaking up because now a lot of the Black women are having that oh, shite moment earlier in their 20s and 30s because they see us saying these things, right? So, anyway, this person asked this question, and I think it's so fascinating. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. I didn't check because I don't know where they were coming from with the question, but let me read the question again. So, does coverage by her father as a girl then coverage by her husband as a woman make a big difference? Now, here's my thing. Here's my thing. It could, I guess, is the answer. The answer to the question is that's not a black and white answer. It could. It depends. Now, it depends on what lens you look at femininity and masculinity from. It depends on what lens you're asking the question from. I honestly don't know. If you're coming from a patriarchal, pure patriarchal lens, the one answer is going to make sense to you. If you're coming from a pure church culture lens, another answer is going to make sense to you. I'm going to hit you with something biological, and then I'm going to answer from that vantage point. Okay. One of my favorite podcasts is Andrew Huberman's podcast. He is a professor of psychology and ophthalmology, neuro something and ophthalmology. He's a smart guy, okay? And I love listening to his podcast. And I was on my walk recently, and he was talking about fertility, male and female fertility, right? And Andrew was like, based off of studies, if you have a I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna see if I could get it out right. Hopefully I could get it out right. And if I remember to, I'll put the episode below when I'm done, but beware, Andrew's episodes are hours long. Hours. Okay, so okay. Anyway, if you have a pre-pubescent woman, female, right? Little girl, basically, and she grows up in a home without being exposed to a post-pubescent man consistently, right? You get it? So you have a little girl who grows up without an older brother or an older father, a father. You know what I mean? Okay. She grows up without her grandfather, her father, an older brother, a post-pubescent male in the home consistently. So she is not consistently exposed to a grown a man. Okay. Biologically, this is wild to me. If you take that prepubescent girl and you test her hormones before, and then you expose her to a post-pubescent man, to a grown man, to an older male, to a post-pubescent male, so even like a teenager, for X amount of time, and you do a hormone panel on her after that, her hormones change. That's wild. Okay. And the opposite is not true. If you have a prepubescent girl, I'm going to get this out, who grew up with a post-pubescent male in the home, older brother, uncle, father, grandfather, the whole shebangle. This is just biology. And you do her hormone panel beforehand, expose her to some other dude, and then do it again, her hormones remain the same. Okay. So that establishes that the presence of a older male right? And the fulcrum that they used in that study was puberty versus not puberty, right? That's what they used. But um, has some biological effect on a young girl. So the answer to this person's question is, does coverage by her father as a girl and coverage by her husband as a woman make a big difference? Now, the word coverage doesn't necessarily mean biological coverage, but it does sometimes encompass physical protection, spiritual protection, guidance, mental, blah, blah, blah. It depends on what your definition of coverage is. This is such a loaded question. The answer I'm going to say is it very well could. It very well could. Coverage, whatever that means, which we don't even know what that means, but we'll just take the general of a male in the home could shape the way that a girl interacts with hustle culture. Absolutely. Will it absolutely shape the way she interacts with hustle culture? No, absolutely not. Because there's way too many variables. Okay. What if you have some horrible man in the home saying he covering her, but what he's doing is just training her to be a part of the patriarchal conveyor belt? Like there's so many moving parts to that question that it's hard to answer. So my answer is it could. There's no way that a having an older male figure who is healthy, healed, healing, and or modeling some sort of healed behavior and providing for you coverage in the form of guidance, framework, and protection in a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical care space could not positively affect how you interact with the training of hustle culture. I'm sure that there is a high, high chance that there's a more positive outcome there than a negative one. And that's really all I'm gonna say about that. I don't really know how else to say that, right? But here's the thing. That doesn't negate the fact that if the man isn't there and the mom does a good job, it could probably also have a positive outcome as well, right? There's just a lot of moving parts to that question, right? But I'm never gonna say having her daddy there ain't gonna make a better outcome for her because I mean, I have my daddy there. And listen, 5 stars, well, 4.5. My dad was not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but 4.5 stars on Yelp. Okay. The man has gone to glory. And listen, he made a huge difference. A lot of me survived. I felt that. A lot of my authentic me survived because of my father's presence and messaging and coverage. So, and when I look back from this vantage point, I can see the places that in me that would have been crushed if he had not shielded me from those things or reflected back to me a different message that gave me permission to show up. So, in my own personal life, he was definitely an antidote to hustle culture and the messaging of me being a tool for the system. It didn't keep me from being a tool for the system for a season, but his messaging definitely highly affected my ability to anesthetize the brainwashing. There's a lot of words there, but that's what I mean. Okay, so the man did what he did. Amen. And I'm going to move on. Okay, Jay said, thank you for your Who Am I book. It's really helping me clarify my new mom identity. You are so welcome, Jay. And I love that for you. If you don't know what she's talking about, I am huge on identity work. Amen. It is one of the cornerstones of my coaching. I am a coach for Black and West Indian women on a healing journey. If you want to work with me, the link is at the top of the information box wherever you're watching. And if you want to download what she is talking about, I made a workbook to help you answer the question, who am I? And you can download it for free. So just go in the information box. There's a link that says download your free gift, download your free workbook, and you too can get the Who Am I book that she's talking about. Okay. And the reason why it's so important to me is what Jay is saying. Black women, especially women, all of us in American culture, but if you boil it down, Black women, women, all of us, our society benefits from us not knowing who we are and not showing up as fully formed, healed, and divinely assigned and aligned human beings because unfortunately, we are in a worker capitalist system that needs workers. So it's real easy to have a group of people be the worker bees if they have no concept of what the heck they're doing here and what they're supposed to be providing to this system based off of who they are. If you don't know who you are, you can't show up in your own life fully. And it's a lot easier for you to just align yourself with somebody else's thing. Okay. So I'm glad, Jay. Thank you so much for the testimonial. And I love that it's helping you clarify your mom identity and keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. Another thing that I hear a lot from coaching clients is that some of the questions that I ask in my identity work, in that workbook, in the coaching membership where I have a course about identity work. Speaking about that, there is a guest coach workshop. If you are in the Pineapple Crowns membership right now, there is a guest coach workshop in the identity course right now from social worker and emotional wellness coach Angela Kanu. She is a specialist in identity work and story work, the narrative and the story that you tell yourself. I've had a video with Angela on my channel. I'll put a link to it down below when we're done. There is a video specifically about trauma and the developing brain and how that affects the story you are telling yourself. Go into your membership, go to the identity course. It is in there. And coming soon, as in next month, as in like a couple 3 weeks, Angela is going to do a live group call for the Pineapple Crown members so she can talk to you and answer your questions about this story that you've been telling yourself and how you may have developed it through a traumatic lens because of childhood and brain development. So you'll be able to sign up for that shortly. I'm actually going to work on it today or tomorrow so that you'll be able to sign up for that. And if you're out here on the internet, okay, out here on Kendrick Lamar's internet and that kind of stuff sounds good to you because you've been telling yourself a raggedy story and you can't get out of this BS story that the world's been telling you, you can't get out of this BS story that your life's been telling you and your brain is playing tricks on you. Click the link in the top of my my information box, thepineapplecrowns.com. Sign up for the membership now, okay? Because I'm just going to say yesterday's price is not today's price. So if you're a wise woman, sign up for the membership now, amen, and join us, okay? And behind that, there's a lot more information and a lot more helpful tools if that kind of stuff sounds good to you, okay? And even if you don't sign up for the membership, you can get the free workbook that Jay was talking about. Just go in the information box, okay? Go in the information box. So yeah, that's super important. Melissa says, hello, have you found yourself stuck by fear in areas important to you? If so, how have you navigated that? Yes and no. Okay, so I'm 48. That's where I'm gonna start. And so there have been a lot of lessons learned as the old people say, keep living. Yeah. And one of the things that I have learned as I've kept living is if I don't like the result that I'm getting, I have agency to create something different. I had to learn this because I did not think that at the beginning, and it's also not what was modeled for me. I was modeled powerlessness. I was modeled victim mentality. I was modeled you are stuck. You chose your you chose your space. That's where you are. That's where you're gonna be. That's where you're gonna be. That's where you are. That's where you're gonna be. Hallelujah. Amen. Now let's all sit here and whine and complain about it. And let's all do that. That's what I was modeled. I did not like the outcomes that I was seeing from that behavior. And so as I've gotten older, somewhere in my 30s, going into my 40s, I realized I get to make a different choice. So your question was, have I found myself stuck by fear in areas important to me? Absolutely. My entire 20s and much of my 30s was me living from a fear based lens, believing that I was stuck. Then I realized I am not stuck because every morning when I open my eyes, I get to make a different choice. Okay. Lisa Nichols says that fear is an indication that information is missing. And so I started asking the fear questions, right? There was a few years back where I decided that my word of the year, but I pick a word every single year. And that year, the word was mastery. And I make one of these bracelets. And this one, ironically, says mastery on it too, because mastery was the year that whooped my tail. It's one of these bracelets from my intent. And so many years ago, and it was my way, God told me basically to worry about myself and to master myself. And in that year, I started asking fear questions. So basically, if something came up in my mind that I was horrified by, and I thought there was no way to get through it, I was stuck here. All I had to do was sit down and take my lashes. I started changing words. I started changing the word should to could. I should have known better. I should have done that differently. I should have made a different choice. Well, I could have known better, but I didn't, clearly. And I could have made a different choice, but I didn't. Well, why didn't I make a different choice? And then I would sit there and I would answer the questions for myself. So why did I make a different choice? Well, I did not know any different. I had never seen anybody make a different choice. I have never seen a black woman make a different choice. I see people lauded on social media and in my actual real life for making this choice. I am told by my fill in the blank job that this is a good choice to make. I am told by my church that this is a good choice to make. And I am told by the women in my family that this is a good choice to make. And everybody's made that choice. And then if it turns out good for them, everybody hoorays them. And then if it turns out bad for them, everybody just like bitches and moans and sits there and wallows. I would literally start asking the fear questions, Melissa. Real talk. I would change my shoulds to coulds. I would change my buts to ands, meaning I would I would I would switch from this job to that job, but I can't because I have to XYZ. That would become well, I would switch from this job to that job, and I could if I could figure out how to, right? It was my way of realizing that I had a very rigid way of showing up in spaces and fear would stop me, right? So once I started doing that work, which is more like mental, emotional, and spiritual work of unblocking myself when it came to fear and creating pathways forward through fear because fear doesn't go away, right? Fear transforms, fear evolves, fear transmutes. I don't know what the word is, okay? Fear evolves when you give it more information. But fear never goes away. So waiting for the fear to go away was stopping me. And that was what made me stuck. I was participating in my stuckness by not intentionally looking for ways of escape, right? By not intentionally looking for pathways forward, right? So that was like in my early 30s. No, not early. That was not early 30s. Early 30s was no, no, no. That's a lie. That was in my late 30s, early 40s. Okay. And then what happened is, because you said, how did I navigate that? I started doing that kind of work. I started asking fear questions. I started realizing and accepting that my lens was broken. My lens was skewed. My lens was built off of modeling that did not get me the results that I want. Okay. Y'all have heard me say a million times check the tree before you pick the fruit. I say that because I didn't used to check the tree before I picked the fruit, right? I used to go to the tree, pick the fruit off the tree, and then wonder why I didn't like the fruit because I thought it was the only fruit I could have because it's the only fruit that was modeled to me. And it's the only fruit that this system offered to me. Do these things, check these boxes, win these prizes. And when I started to realize these prizes are basura, okay, I was like, and everybody else was just sitting down in the wallowing. I didn't want it, right? So the next thing I did was once I started asking fair questions, that would open up possibilities for me to explore. It would give me another step forward where I thought I was stuck. And once I started realizing that in all of these places where I thought I was stuck, there was indeed another choice that could be made, that changed everything. That changed everything. I'm gonna tell you the other thing that was super powerful. Elevating the fact that I am a spirit, I have a soul, and I live in a body, right? And we can do a lot of work spiritually and mental and emotionally, right? To unclog ourselves in those places from a fear-based mentality. Yes, but also acknowledging that my body is still going to be feeling the fear that it felt, right? And that's what happened to me 2 years ago. So I had done all of this good work, asking fair questions, moving forward in places, but there was some strongholds. Okay, there were some places. I'm not even gonna say was. There are still continually places where I know I'm safe. I know I have proven to myself doing all of this work, asking fair questions, moving forward, taking small steps. Oh, that's the other thing. When I need support, asking for support. When I need help, asking for help. I don't just ask for the question, answer the question, and then do the step all by myself. No, 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 because if that's the case, I wouldn't be afraid. But I don't have to do it by myself, right? This is where I've gotten coaches, plural. I have gotten coaches in business. I've gotten coaches in relationship. I've gone to therapy. I have joined Facebook groups. I literally ask myself, what help do I need to move forward in the direction I'm trying to go in that has scared the bejesus out of me, basically. And I basically put I take a step forward, and while I'm taking a step forward, I put the support under that step so that when I put my foot down, there's something for me to rest on beyond myself. And that diminishes fear because then I can ask questions. I don't that's the other thing. Black women, we get this messaging that we have to do everything by ourselves. There's some kind of like glorification in the individuation to the point that it's counter to how we are designed. We come from tribal, indigenous, and communal legacy. And even though individuation is in psychology a beautiful thing that happens as you mature, humans are designed to be in community, and especially Black women. Okay. We have to return back to how we are designed to function, which is if you don't know the answer, ask another Black woman, find you another Black woman, find you another space full of Black women and ask them. They gonna support you because ain't nothing like a Black woman who like seriously. So I started asking fair questions. I stopped thinking I had to do it all by myself. I started asking for help. And the last thing that I am still doing, I'm still doing all of those things that I'm telling you, but the last thing that I'm doing is I'm acknowledging the fact that when I have a anxiety response, a physical anxiety response to something that horrified me in the past, that's a real thing. Nothing is wrong with me. That is just my nervous system reacting to something that was traumatic or scary. If you want to see it in real time, go to my video last week where I was talking through being triggered at the OBGYN's office because of special needs mom life. Okay. And then I put a support system in place for that. I literally like was like, "Oh, that's a real thing that's happening. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm not losing my mind. That's just my brain and my nervous system reacting to thinking that I'm unsafe and there's a threat happening." But I also want the results. I want the results. I want the results I'm gonna come get. So the body gonna have to get in tune. We're gonna have to get this body subdued. And I don't just try to do it on my own. I start once again going to communities, going to coaches, asking for assistance, and figuring out how to regulate my physical nervous system responses that are scaring the living daylights out of me and helping me ma- making me remain stuck. And I do that right now. And some of the ways that I've done it, breath work is a huge way that I work through the physical anxiety symptoms that I can feel. Acupuncture. Let me tell you something. I was watching a video with Dani Ellison on Stephanie Perry's channel, and Dani Ellison said that she had done all this work, but she was still having physical anxiety symptoms. She went to acupuncture and it helped. I don't even know if I believed in acupuncture back then, but I was like, I'm gonna try it all. Okay. So I went to Google's. I went to Dr. Google's and I found something and a something and something. And I found some like Black Acupuncturist League. I don't even know. Okay. And I emailed the lady and the lady emailed me back and she sent me the name of a Black woman acupuncturist in St. Louis. And I went to that woman. And when I tell you, she stuck me, boop, 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 people, and she was pushing and pulling. I don't know what she was doing. I told the woman flat out, I don't even know if I believe this, but help, because my body starts shaking. Okay. She had me doing whatever she was doing, and I did it. And I've been going to that woman for 2 years. I literally went to her last Saturday. Okay. And I do everything to move myself in the direction of the thing that I want. That's how I navigate it, Melissa. I do not see fear as a stopping point. I see fear as a gate. How do I unlock this gate? I start asking questions. To me, fear used to be a brick wall that stopped me, and all I could do is sit down and lament the fact that, like, oh well, I guess I don't get any further than this. Bump what you heard. Okay, sorry. That's not directed to you exactly. I'm just saying, bump what you actually heard. Okay. The devil thought he had me. Okay. He's so sick of me popping back up. I refuse. I refuse. I am going to create the life that I desire, or I'm going to pass away before I get there. I'm not gonna stop though. I can't stop. That's so random, Rashni. No, seriously. So that's the answer to your question. Hopefully it helped. I asked the fair questions to get more information because fear is information missing. I seek out community to answer the questions. I seek out resources, books, podcasts. I am seeking, okay? And those who seek will find. I'm seeking, okay? And I acknowledge the fact that if I'm actually having a mental health moment, a spiritual health moment, a physical body moment that is associated with the fear, that is a natural and valid response to something that I don't know how to do, and I get the support for that thing and I keep it pushing. And that's not something I did. That is something I am doing currently right now. Like it happens right now. There are some really big things in my life happening right this moment as y'all watch me right here. Me, right here. Okay. That felt like I was stuck, and I'm not stuck. I just said that. And I say that to myself. So in the future, when future me watches this video, girl, we weren't stuck. Amen. All right. Lori says, as a 60-plus-year-old woman, mental health, I'm assuming, was not discussed in my 20s and 30s. Now in my 60s, I am learning who I am. I love that for you. I love that for you. And that's what I mean. Oh, yeah, she said mental health. Yeah, I knew what you meant. And that's what I mean. I'm like, there are pluses and minuses to the collective experience as we all get older, right? And part of the collective experience that is a plus is there is a grouping of vocabulary and the ability to discern within ourselves, discern within the community, and communicate back and forth within each other valid things that in the past were just not discussed. Doesn't mean they weren't there, they weren't just talked about. There are plenty of things that people will be like, that didn't exist back in my day. It absolutely existed. Y'all just didn't have vocabulary for it. Okay. Just because you don't have vocabulary for a thing doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. In the video that I filmed, recorded yesterday, with Evie Scott, that I'm probably going to put up next week, that we were talking about body image and all this kind of stuff. I don't remember if we said it in the video or after the video, because Evie and I really hit it off and we was running our mouths. And anyway, hopefully it was on the recording. But I was saying how powerful it was to get that vocabulary for a thing. The minute I get vocabulary for a thing, it unlocks something in my potential to create it moving forward for me. For me. And it's not even about being able to say it to other people, which is super important. It's about being able to say it to myself, Lori. It's about being able, that's why things like the feeling wheels are so important. And even watching and creating these videos are so important, because you guys have heard me say that in my mind, depression is the opposite of expression. And a huge way that we express ourselves, not the only way, but a huge way, is through verbal communication. If I can't express within myself what's going on with my own spiritual, mental, physical health, then I'm going to be unraveling and or like imploding in some kind of like shame spiral, instead of just being like, girl, this ain't nothing, this is normal. And that's why a lot of times you guys will see me come out here and hit y'all with like 2 sentences of something that seems really complex, but I can actually boil it down. I can like condense it to 2 sentences. That's years of work. Okay. That's years of work, because it's so important for me. for the discussions, like you said, Lori, that did not happen in your 20s and 30s to happen. Not just so that women who are in their teens, 20s, and 30s can know how to create the life that they deserve earlier, but so that you can do it. Okay? Because you still here, boo boo. 60 plus is, listen, you still here. Every morning you open your eyes, there is an opportunity for you and everyone, me, breathing on 50's neck, to create something different. And us that are in, they're going to be young people, hopefully, with all the work that a lot of us are doing out here on the internet, there are going to be young women who bypass a lot of what we have been through. But that is just how life goes. We bypassed a lot of what our ancestors went through, right? Their ceiling is our floor. My ceiling will be some 20 something year old's floor. She going to start where I finished. But even in your at 60 plus, Lori, like you said, where nobody was discussing these things. And so right now, you starting considering your mental health. You're starting considering your healing journey. You're just starting. Start because you got good years in you. Okay? You got lots of good years in you. I've actually seen Lori. She cute as a button. Okay? And she's right. And so good on us. You know, some people are, there's a light and a shadow to everything. And some people are, they are more likely to look at the light, and some people are more likely to look at the shadow. Ironically, my name, Rushni, means light. Okay. So I have a tendency to seek light, right? I look at the light side of things. It doesn't mean that I ignore that the shadow side exists. I am very aware that the shadow side exists. I had to bring it to the forefront, if I'm being honest, because as a coping mechanism, I would literally dissociate back in the day and only look at the light side of things. Now I'm integrated. Okay. There's integrity in how I look at things. I see the good and the bad. But one of the best things about opening your eyes every morning in a healthy body, where you are not in somebody's hospital room being poked or prodded, you are not without, is you can address your spiritual, emotional, mental health, your relational, financial, and all the old health, and you have an opportunity to create something different. Period. That's how I look at it. That's how I'm living the life that I'm in. I spend less time, less and less. I spent my 20s lamenting what I thought I didn't have. And from the vantage point of a 48-year-old, I'm like, girl, are you crazy? You could have really done something different. But I don't spend too much time judging her. I've told you guys this because she got me here. The girl that was unraveling in a major depressive disorder, like mental health spiral without the vocabulary and stuck in fear and all that kind of stuff, she did something amazing because we sitting here right now, girl, talking to y'all. She got me here. So I celebrate her, even though she was fumbling all over the place, busting her head. She didn't give up. She got up. I felt that. I felt that, y'all. She didn't give up. She got up. Okay. Happy Friday, feeling pretty blue. Hi, Jelia. Jelia says, how can a person balance acknowledging what wants with avoiding idolatry? I had been trying to learn to be indifferent. I'm trying to understand what you mean by, okay, let me see. I'm acknowledging wants with avoiding idolatry. Say more. I'm not sure I understand the question. There's more. I was taught that if a person wants something enough to be disappointed or hurt for not receiving it, then it was an idol. Boo. Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Let me say something. Everything that you was taught is not right. I'm gonna just put it out there. Check the tree before you pick the fruit. The person that taught you that, do you like the outcomes that they got? That's the question I'm gonna ask. Is that person or did that person create a life that feels like a life you would want to emulate? Was it a life they wanted? If so, why are you picking fruit off that tree? Because why in the world would a creator create something, give it the desires of its heart, and then say those desires were idolatry? That messaging sounds, I don't know, maybe listen, that just annoyed me, but it is what it is. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, and I don't wanna talk bad about nobody, but all I'm saying is that messaging sounds like the messaging that would come to you from somebody that either is ignorant to their choices, creating an outcome, and so therefore you don't wanna take fruit off of that person either because they gonna lead you into the bushes, and both of y'all gonna be in the bushes talking about, "Boo-hoo, I'm in the bushes." You don't wanna be around those person. Or they need you to denounce your wants so that they can fill you up and use you as a tool. That's why I was like, "Who said that to you?" Were they a colonizer or were they colonized in their mind? Were they mentally colonized? That's the question Imma ask, ask because that's the first thing that came to my mind, and God has told me to say more of what actually goes through my head and not be so quiet, 1% more Rushni every single day, okay? Because that sounds like a message from a colonizer or a person who is colonized in the mind, and they trying to colonize you. Them suckers trying to anesthetize your divine design for some purpose. And I don't know what the purpose is. And they probably don't want you listening to me because what I want for you is for you to be every effing thing God designed for you to be. And yes, I said effing and God in the same sentence. Okay. That's what I want. That's what I want for me to be. That's what I want for you to be. And I don't think that the desires of your heart and having, imagine living a life with no wants. What? Girl, come back here if you're not here. Imagine. What are you, a shell? What are you, a spoon? Why would he put stuff in you and not want you to want it? Then that would be a expose on the heart of the creator. I think that's a misunderstanding on the person telling you the thing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let me move on because that annoyed me. Hello. Okay, let me see if I can say it right. Ameristar 86. Thank you for my pineapple. Mambo glamazini. What do you mean by that? Wait, what did you mean by that, Fiona? What do you mean? Lori said asking for help is so important. Let me tell y'all something. I grew up with the messaging that there was some value proposition in doing it all from scratch all by yourself. You were strong. Let me stop. Let me stop. Rushdie, stop. Behave yourself. If you have to start everything from zero, you will get nowhere in life. People who are succeeding in spaces, financial spaces, relational spaces, um, all of the spaces, right, are often building on what came before them, right? Good, bad, or indifferent, many of them good, right? The message that you have to start from scratch, that you have to pull yourself up from your bootstraps in a country, in a mental health space, in a relational, in all of the spaces, does not come from anybody who's looking for the best interest of you. Okay. And typically does not come from a person who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Once again, check the tree before you pick the fruit because the messaging, listen, some of the limiting messaging, you have to think to yourself, is this person giving me good counsel or is this person ignorant or do they benefit from me being anesthetized, clueless? You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to do it by yourself. You're not designed to do it by yourself. There is no inherent flaw in you for asking for help. Matter of fact, all the people that you see seeming like they run in the race in front of you, they ask for help. That sucker got a therapist. I actually wrote this down the other day and I'm going to post it in my Facebook group. Who's on your care team? Right? Let me just give y'all this for a second. I am not living right now without any assistance. Okay. I have had therapists. Right now, I have a therapist. I have an acupuncturist. Okay. I told y'all why. I have a dentist. I have a primary care physician. I'm not doing my tooth care by myself. I'm not doing my teeth, my medical care by myself. I have an OBGYN with supporting cast in the office. I'm not doing that by myself. My son has 8 million specialists. Let me tell you about it because I'm not taking care of my son's care by himself. Okay. He has a pediatrician, he has a neurologist, a neurosurgery team. He has a pulmonologist. My son has urologist. He has audiology, optometry, right? This is a care team that he has. I personally have a pedicurist. I am looking for I actually have a hairdresser and I'm looking for another one too, like a conjunction thing. Um, I need to find a masseuse. I have had business coaches. I have worked with life coaches. I have worked with therapists, pastors. All of these people are help. All these people are support. I have friends. I have 2 accountability partners for my coaching certification. I, and a partridge in a freaking pear tree. I could keep going. I'm not doing these things by myself. I have a virtual assistant for my business. I ask for help. Okay. And soon and very soon, I'm going to be living a life where I might have a personal assistant. Do it for me, Jesus, because I want it. And a person that comes to clean my home. I have the Walmart app. People deliver my groceries to my house because I was tired of trying to go to the grocery store with a wheelchair. Like, it is, let me put it up on the screen again. Asking for help is so important. You don't have to do none of this by yourself. You don't have to do none of this by yourself. You're not designed to do any of this by yourself. You're not designed to do any of this by yourself. Black woman, you're not designed to do any of this by yourself. Any messaging that you've gotten, any modeling that you've gotten, check it. See if the person was a colonizer or if they were colonized in their mind. Do you want the outcome of the person who gave you that messaging? If you don't, then you don't have to tell them you don't want their outcome. Just smile at them because that's their work to do. And you go and you create the life that you desire. Oh, you said I'm having a mambo chat. Listen, we out here. This is what happens when I don't have a topic. Y'all start getting to see what really going on in my brain. Okay. And God told me to speak up more. You're welcome, Melissa. I hope that helps. Hi, Blue Eye says, I was about to say your government name out here on the internet. Okay. But I didn't. Speak that truth and set people. I'm trying to tell people stuff. Okay. I'm not saying I'm right, but I know I'm not wrong. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I'm not saying I'm right, but I know I'm not wrong. That's what I'm saying. Mm, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so Jelia says the concept of idolatry was learned from various preachers and the church. Well, um, I have a lot of thoughts on that. What I will say out here on the internet, okay, is do you want the life that those people who said that to you created? That's what I will say out of love and reverence. Okay. Um, I'm trying to think of the proper wording or good wording that gets across what I am trying to say. It was not uncommon for Jesus to bust up into religious spaces and tell the religious people that they was tripping. Yet somehow there has been messaging given to us that we can't ever say y'all tripping. Although my Bible tells me I'm supposed to be Christ-like, not you-like. Okay? So unless you Christ. Bye, Lori. Bye. Unless you Christ. Let me go. This book say anybody could get this challenge. That's what the book say. The book say anybody could get it. Okay? Because you ain't Christ. All right. So that to me is man-made messaging, plucking specific scriptures about touching not God's anointed, and do his prophets no harm, and using it to silence critical thinking and necessary discussion in the spaces that are supposed to be sacred and reverent when if you check Jesus out, all Jesus ever did was bust up into sacred spaces, sit his little tail down, and have critical thinking discussions in the sanctuaries with the religious people, often revealing to them new information that they had overlooked or were unable to see or were misconstruing, right? That was Jesus's favorite thing to do. Go up into a sanctuary, plop down, and peel through having conversations. Yeah? So if you are in a space, that's all I'm going to say, where it's a one-way conversation, telling you things from a elevated, help God, vantage point. People who are creating lives you do not want, that are not a reflection of the divine, of God, of Jesus. And that messaging includes that you having wants, because we go back to what you said, is idolatry. Check it. Because it don't sound like God to me. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It don't sound like him. I don't sound like God. Okay. It don't sound like him. If you crack open the beginning of the book, the first thing God told me about himself is that he is a creator. In the beginning, God created. Period. Okay. So a creator creates creations, and those creations he created are in his image. He expects you to create. And to create something, you have to have a desire for it to exist before it exists. Right? How else you gonna create it? So he's gonna put into you desire, want, and imagination, and faith and hope, which are all forward projections of what you can bring into the world that doesn't exist yet. So, how in the world could having desire and wants be idolatry? I mean, something else could be idolatry, I suppose, right? However, that sounds like too much. That sounds like too much. It sounds like too much. God put every single last one of us here to bring something into the world with us. You are divinely endowed with something which is part of your identity. It is your unique crafting and gifting for what he is trying to get into the world. And I say he loosely just because that's the pronoun we use. God, the divine. Okay. God's trying to get something into the world through you, and you're being stunted by the messaging of people who are misunderstanding and or using their limited comprehension of scriptures to stop you from bringing it in the world. And let me get away from that. Anyway, are there any other questions? You said you're so glad you were able to catch a little live before work, and I'm glad that you were too, because like I said, today I'm just out here chilling. I'm out here chilling. I'm out here running my mouth like I do. I'm out here running. I stay preaching. I Let me say this to y'all. I read my Bible practically every day. I'm not gonna say every day anymore. I was saying every day back in the day, but this summer's been summering me. Okay, I've been on summer hours. So I read my Bible practically every day. I read it this morning. I'm in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is a wild ride. Okay, Deuteronomy is a wild ride. I don't care. I don't care what translation you get into. Okay, okay. He was Moses was out here tripping. He was out here. Listen, Deuteronomy is a wild ride. Let's just say that, okay? I am slow reading through this thing. I have never read my Bible more. And the irony of me being a person who is head diving and like saturating herself in scriptures lately is the more I saturate myself in the scriptures, the more I'm kind of side eyeing church stuff, which is wild when you think about it. It doesn't mean all church stuff. What it's doing is making me much more discerning about who I listen to and who I allow to pour into my spiritual health, my spiritual healing, my spiritual education. my mental, my physical, and then my whole life. It makes me much more discerning because once again, I got to check the tree before I pick the fruit because there's a lot going on out here in these streets, okay? And a lot of it is like a episode of Telephone. You know, Telephone when you were a kid, this person says a thing and they whisper and another person's there, and then this person says a thing and they whisper and they whisper. And like, what? That's not even what he meant. That's not even what he meant. That don't even sound like what I'm reading in this book. I'm reading it in context. I'm hopping back and forth from the scripture that he was referencing, right? I'm going into the different translations. I'm looking up the root word and what he meant. I don't know if that's what he meant, y'all. And y'all are like telephone saying it to each other across things. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not telling you to do this. Everybody's journey is unique to them. I'm just telling you, there is an irony to me that the more I actually pick up this book that I say I believe and I read through this book to see what's really going on in this book, the more it's making me be like, okay, let me I can't just take this from everybody, okay? You know how like you be this is the end. You know how like you used to eat one way, you used to just like eat like McDonald's, and now you've become like organic, keto, like all this kind of stuff. I don't know what the equivalent of that is in the spiritual spaces, but it's like that. Okay. I have like a I have like a very unique diet when it comes to that because I can't just go to everybody's buffet and let them tell me every old thing because some of that stuff you saying it ain't in this book, or it's a skewed version of the book, or it's something that people have passed down from generation to generation based off of a misunderstanding, or it right. That's how I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying you do what feels right to you. Study to show yourself approved. Okay, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's what it say in the book. You do that. Amen. I'm just saying, I can't live my life based off of telephone, and I can't live my life off of hearsay, and I can't live my life off of social pressure based off of something that's not in these scriptures. I don't care how much applause I get for it. Applause of man, okay? I'm not trying to get applause of man. I'm trying to be aligned with the divine. Because to me, that's what healing is. Healing is a return to wholeness. Healing is a return to the you God intended you to be, the me that God intended me to be. And how am I going to return to me, come back home to myself, if I don't know who God intended for me to be? If I'm tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, as they say. I'm just saying. Anyway, you guys, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this video. Girl, did you say anything crazy out here? Who is Melissa? Jamal said, hi, Melissa. I don't know who Melissa is, but maybe it's somebody in the comments. There was a Melissa in the comments. Okay, very well. If how I'm talking sounds good to you, I have a coaching membership for Black and West Indian women on a healing journey. If you are interested in working with me as your coach, visit thepineapplecrowns.com and join the membership. I'm pulling up the information so I could tell you guys what's going on. So our next group call for the Pineapple Crowns membership is this coming Sunday, July 21st. Also, if you are a previous participant of one of the virtual planning retreats, the next accountability call is also this Sunday. If you want to join, go to the bonus section of your respective planning retreat and you can join us on the calls. As I said earlier in today's call, I recently added a workshop on identity, trauma, and the developing brain led by emotional wellness coach Aunt Angela Kanu. And if you are for Pineapple Crowns members, and if you are part of the membership and you are wanting to talk to Angela live, there will be an opportunity in the next couple days to sign up for a live coaching call with Angela coming up shortly. Okay. I am also adding a guest coaching module soon to the Healing the Mother Wound course from reparenting coach Dani Ellison, who specializes in helping Black women go no contact with narcissistic mothers. So she has done a recorded coaching workshop that will go in the Heal the Mother Wound course very shortly about narcissistic abuse and the mother wound. And I think I'm going to have Angela come talk to you guys in August, and Dani come talk to you guys live in September. So if you want to have a live coaching call with her as well, a reparenting coach who specializes in narcissistic abuse and Black women, join the membership because she will be live. There's a pre-recorded and there will be live in the upcoming months. Okay. The membership price goes up on August 1st and the membership closes for enrollment on August 15th. Why? Because we back in surgery season. If you guys remember, my son who has special needs was supposed to have a major surgery at the end of May. It was rescheduled until the end of August. And so I am working on that right now. And because I'm a mom of a son with special needs, my coaching has to reflect holding great space for that because, like I said, I'm a Black woman on a healing journey. Anyway, thanks you guys for hanging out with me today out here on Kendrick Lamar's internet. I pray that you guys create the most beautiful life ever as I continue to do the same. And I will see you in the next video. Okay? Be well, be encouraged. Here's a pineapple, y'all. Bye, y'all. Bye. I had fun talking to you. Bye.